Former cheaters of Reddit, how were you caught by your significant other? I caught my ex thanks to fucking Pokemon Go of all things. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using lots of her data. I explained that in her settings she could see how much data an app was using. I proceeded to show her and prove to her it wasn't by pointing out Tinder was using much more data. It was sad but also funny the way it went down. Knew my wife was up to some shady shit. Went through her texts, which I sent lawyer. The one text that cut the deepest. Baby cakes Marco asking if he could jizz on her engagement/wedding ring. Fuck you, Amanda. Advertised myself on Craigslist casual encounters and her brother-in-law found me on there. It wasn't until some time later I questioned what he was doing in there also. My first girlfriend cheated on me. She left to go to a party, but I couldn't go, so I kissed her and said, "Have fun, be safe." She later called me and said she slept with 2 guys, and that it was so fun that she was dumping me. I'm still recovering from that one. Back in the day, Snapchat used to tell you the top 3 friends if any of your friends. I saw that I was number 1, her best friend was number 3, and some dude coworker was number 2. I later logged into her Voxer account and was able to hear conversations between her and said dude where she'd say things like she can't wait to run her hands through his hair, and then the pinnacle when he asked her if his jizz tasted different after drinking Pineapple Monster energy drink. She said she doesn't usually taste it and just swallows it, and that she'll have to pay more attention next time. Confronted her and she's telling me I'm taking it out of context. Yeah, guess that's normal conversation between male and female coworkers. Was on a break with my girlfriend at the time. Got a text from a girl that had mutual friends with and knew each other kind of well, started having dirty conversation, talking about sleeping together, etc. Turns out my girlfriend at the time had gotten a burner phone with a different number and was the one sending me the texts the whole time. She was not pleased. My iPhone synced to her roommate's laptop, revealing a treasure trove of nudes I had saved in my camera roll. Years later, iPhones now ask you if you want to trust a computer you're charging from, rather than just syncing. Buddy of mine was cheating on his wife with a cam girl. They were a very religious church-going couple in their 20s. The cam girl blackmailed him for $500 or she would send it to his entire friends list. Wife, parents, grandma, pastor. He paid her off. When she asked for $500 more, he confessed. She still sent the videos. It was pretty crazy for a while. The wife was considering a divorce until she got pregnant. They worked things out. And things are all good now. The guy really turned around and became a much better person. I caught my boyfriend of 2 years. He had asked me to proofread his paper on his Mac and the text messenger popped up in the right hand. He was sitting in his bed texting some girl "Good night, I love you" while sitting right next to me in his bed. I deleted his entire paper, wrote "Who's Marissa?" saved it and told him it looks great and left. She was his girlfriend of 8 years who lived next to his parents 2 hours away. Came back into town a day early and went to surprise him at work. Found him fucking another secretary. He was also a secretary. He didn't see me, so I took a quick photo and snuck back out. Went home, called my friends and family. They came over and helped me pack up all his shit and change the locks. Dumped his stuff at his mom's house. Sent him the picture of him and the chick and informed him that he and his belongings now reside with his mother again. He worked in a small lawyer's office. 2 lawyers and 2 secretaries. The lawyers were out of the office for whatever reason. I don't remember why. This happened many years ago. I came in and saw no one was at the front desks and went back to the break room. The door was open, so I was able to peek inside when I heard the obvious noises. The house was mine, all the documents were in my name. He received no mail, etc. there. He also lived paycheck to paycheck. No idea what he spent his money on, as I paid all the bills. He spent the next few weeks begging me to take him back and all that jazz. Bothered my friends, showed up at my job, caterwauling in the street in front of the house, etc. He eventually got bored and stopped. No idea what happened to him after that. Haven't seen or heard from him again. I'm aware it's illegal to throw someone out of their house. I'm you also aware that I didn't give a flying fuck about the laws. Not me but my wife. We started getting distant from each other and we had planned a trip to see my grandparents who live a few states away. A month before the planned trip she told me that she wanted to cancel it and go to a family reunion on her side of the family in a completely different state and that she wanted to go alone and not bring out kids. I thought it was weird because wouldn't you want to introduce your kids to family hey never see? Like I said we were growing distant so I just said okay fine go. Maybe time apart will be good for us. She came back and suddenly wanted to move across the county to go work at a hospital job that her distant aunt had offered her. Didn't even ask me if I was willing to go. I told her you do whatever it is you need to do to be you, but you're not taking the kids. After a few days she realized that she couldn't leave and not see the kids so she begged me to forgive her. I did. Over the next month we became more distant than we were before all this had happened. I took lunch at work and decided to go home for it, which I never do. Also when I got home there was nobody home so I decided to go through her computer, which I also never do. Found pictures of her with some guy she had met on Zynga Poker who lived guess where? The state that her supposed family reunion was. I've never had a panic attack until this day. I had to call my neighbor and have him sit with me because I legit thought I was having a heart attack. Took pictures of everything I found, other pictures, emails, and Facebook messages. I waited until the kids were in bed, I refused to fight and scream in front of them, and laid all my pictures out there for her to see. Not a fun day. While at UNI I walked on an argument between my girlfriend and her housemate as the housemate shouted at least I'm not a whore who sleeps with everyone when she goes home. Turned out she was sleeping around. I saw she had a different brand of condoms than I use in her bag. I checked her phone when she was in the shower and confirmed it. I wasn't the cheater, but instead the cheated. I've posted this before but here is how I caught my ex cheating on me. My ex, many moons ago, was a fucking idiot. She knew that I had many friends that lived in the same neighborhood as her ex that she had left a couple months before dating me. She always told me she was going over a girlfriend's house to study, and I had no reason not to believe her. Till one day she wouldn't answer a single text. Now I'm not the kind of guy to text a billion times. I'll text you, then if you don't reply, maybe I'll text you 2 to 3 hours later to make sure you got my last message, and if you still don't answer, then, I'll talk to you when you feel like you want to talk. So anyway, I'm at my friend's house later that night having not gotten a reply from her since maybe 12 hours ago. Me and the group of friends decide to go outside in his backyard to make a pit fire, when I notice her car in the driveway of the house behind us. I didn't know it was her ex's house but it was the way wrong neighborhood for her girlfriend's house. I call her sister up and say where is your sister, and she says oh she's at girl's name's house. Well I'm going fucking nuts then because I'm looking at her car now and this isn't girl's name's neighborhood. Her response to that was So I hang up and ask my friend who lives in the house we were all hanging out at, who owns the house behind him. Oh that's her ex-boyfriend's name's house. I called her phone to find it was off. So I just chilled the rest of my time there, and paid it no more attention, no sense in worrying at this point it's a done deal. About 2 hours later I get a call from her saying the phone was on silent for study purposes and if I wanted to come over. Sure I told her. I arrive at the house a little bit after and she hops in the car, and as soon as she shuts the door I ask how was studying with girlfriend's name and she gives me some bullshit answer like I didn't know. After she's done spewing her lie I say weird. Must have been a long walk from ex-boyfriend's house. I made sure to look at her face as I said it so that I could see any expression. She knew I knew but wouldn't let it go. It will go quicker if I just give you the dialogue. We were just talking things out. Why would it be okay to just go over there to do that if you have a boyfriend? Talk things out? What needs to be talked out? We've been friends for a very long time before dating. I can't just stop talking to him. So to get around that, You feel it's logical to lie to me about going to girlfriend's house? It's 11 p.m., you've been talking it out since 10 a.m. I've tried getting a hold of you a couple times too. Silence for a bit. So what did you guys do? She wouldn't answer or look at me. I told her to get out of the car and just pulled off. She broke up with him the first time because he was physically abusive and seemed to not really want to do anything with himself. About a year after I drove off, she calls me asking if we could try to make it work again and if I'd like to get together over dinner. So I said yes and arranged a date at a fairly upscale place for Saturday at 8 p.m. Told her the dress code and all, since it was a snazzy joint. I'm not sure how long she sat there, because I didn't fucking go. My dad was recently caught cheating on my mom after 27 years. While using his laptop, my mom noticed Facebook said, "Hello Mike Long, can we log you back in?" My sweet mom still had no idea he was cheating, until my teenage sister broke it to her that he's using a fake account. That only opened a whole other world of nasty surprises. Love you Dad, but I also hate you. I signed into her Google account to check her emails. She forgot her password, so I had to reset it. I checked her Google Maps history and her most recent visits were at my best friend's house while I was away for work. +1 for Google Maps. I've come home from work to find her in bed with one of her friends. I raged for a few minutes, then I remembered that I did that to her too, so I relaxed myself in a matter of seconds and told her that a month prior this, I cheated on her with a colleague at work. Lost my job, company closing, and my wife freaked out. Said she needed a good long vacation to clear her head. She wanted to go by herself and got her parents to buy her a ticket to go to Europe for a month. I fully supported her and said, "Go, it'll be good to just spend some time by yourself and soul search. I'm sure you'll feel better after you decompress." Things got a little worse between us while waiting for the trip to happen, so I figured she needed more space sooner, so I started staying in our guest room apartment above the garage. Come into the house one day while she's at work and notice a new webcam on her computer. I start up the computer and look in her email to find that she's going to be meeting some guy in Europe. They've been trading naked pics and writing romance scripts about their first sexual encounter. The scripts end in ritualistic vows of marriage, including cutting each other's fingers and signing a love contract in blood. All this time she was just saying she needed time off and to find herself, but now I know she's planning on cheating on me when she goes to Europe, and worse. She's not even a shadow of the woman I thought I was married to. I've hired a divorce lawyer and I'm moving forward with dissolving all ties with her. I don't want her back at all. She can rot in hell for all I care. We've been married 8 years and I've been the most loving, devoted husband possible to her, and now this. I'm going to need some therapy after this because I'm scared I can't trust anyone ever again. Lesson: don't stick your dick in crazy. Took me 8 years to figure it out. Now I'm wondering if this is the first time she's done this shit behind my back. Have I been taken for a ride this whole time? It happened to a friend of mine. We were all on vacation, about 7 friends, and everybody was drinking. We were the only 2 who didn't. He managed to snag his girlfriend's phone while she was passed out and pulled me to the side. He said she's cheating on me, some guy named Joey texting her and meeting her after work for sex every day. Plus how he can make her extra wet. We ended up searching names and mural friends via Facebook. Turned out Joey was a girl. Not the cheater, but the one she was cheating with. We were caught by a coworker at her cubicle after hours. She bribed the coworker to stay quiet by giving her position as head of the office's party planning committee. This worked for a few months until there was a dispute over the way pita bread for a party was to be cut. She routed the girl in front of the entire office. I then had a duel with the fiancé, but we ended up both dropping the cheater. Not me, but my buddy. He is such a great guy and yet has been cheated on by every girl he has ever dated. First girl apparently gets so blackout drunk that she can't tell who is who, because after going to a party one night ended up telling my friend that they should have bathtub sex like they did the other night. Only he had never had bathtub sex. Second girl dumps him because she was convinced he was cheating on her. After swearing up and down that he wasn't, he finally asked why she was so convinced. He's a great guy and would never even give the slightest reason for her to be suspicious. She told him that she had been cheating, so he had to have been too. Third girl that he is currently with is best friends with her most recent ex, as in still goes on best friend dates, and she still lives with and is friends with her ex-boyfriend. It is apparent to everyone but him that he is getting cheated on. He really is just so sweet and naive. I almost got caught once in high school. Invited one girl over to my house after some kinky ASL exchanges on AOL Instant Messenger. While I was hanging out with her, my actual girlfriend dropped by unannounced. Came by because she knew me more than anyone and knew I wouldn't be doing anything useful with my time. So I convinced the other girl it was my crazy sister, and we hid in the living room listening to her bang on my door, call my name, and call my phone for an hour. Not me, but how I discovered my high school girlfriend was cheating on me. She told me for my birthday. My ex-girlfriend cheated on me while I was in basic training. I was allowed to call on my birthday. Being madly in love, I used it to call my girlfriend who was pregnant with our daughter. I remember the conversation as if it were yesterday. Her, hello. Me, hey babe, I miss you, how are you doing? Her, okay, I have someone who wants to talk to you. New boyfriend, hey man, don't worry about her, I am taking good care of her. Me, oh, okay. May I talk to her? New boyfriend, sure, here she is. Her, what? Me, this is bullshit. Slamming down the receiver for the payphone. Apparently I echoed. I received a letter from her that day with her telling me she had a miscarriage. Which later, found to be a lie. I lived in a small, boring town, and when we got our first Applebee's, it created a sensation. My side chick insisted I take her there for lunch. Then when we got the check, I tried to leave the waitress a 20. Bad idea. My date thought I was trying to hit on the waitress with a large tip and got upset with me. Oh, Mr. Sinatra, why don't you spend a little of that cash on me instead? Her ridicule shamed me into pulling back the 20 and leaving a 5 instead. Bad idea. My actual girlfriend developed a hankering for Applebee's that night. I tried to weasel my way out of going again, but she wore me down and we got the same waitress. She was none too pleased to see me after that week tip. Back again? You two really like to eat good in the neighborhood. My girlfriend gave the waitress a strange look and she said, oh, and I love the new pixie cut. Much easier to manage. My girlfriend looked nothing like my mistress. The waitress was simply playing dumb and acting like a haircut was involved to rat me out. And it worked. The girlfriend figured out I had been banging the coworker with hair down to her ass. Overconfidence. I planned it well. I looked at her schedule, and planned my trips so that she was too busy to dig into my alibis. I kept it simple and uncomplicated. I always went to the gym to hide the smell and any traces of the encounter. I always paid with cash to avoid a paper trail. I fooled myself into thinking that it was working and I got sloppy. But she suspected something was wrong. We had made our promises in front of God, but she knew I was a man of large appetites before we made our vows. She noticed changes in my appearance. She saw the extra spring in my step. Then she started going through my clothes. Sure enough, she found damning evidence of my activities. She confronted me with the all-you-can-eat buffet loyalty card nearly filled in, and I confessed. It is time for me to now face the consequences.